Or speaker, which is my wife, Deborah Barone. She's with JWK and Associates. It's a mortgage broker. The title for today's presentation that she will be doing is The Courage to Meet the Demand of Reality, okay? And I will read you guys her bio. Basically, Deborah Barone, also known as my wife, has worked in corporate America in purchasing, customer service, and in sales. She has been my business partner in our company, Quality Region Supply, since 2000. She has over 20 years of outside sales experience and has been in the mortgage industry for close to 7 years now. She is licensed to originate loans in Idaho, and her broker is also licensed in California, Colorado, and Tennessee. She has had outstanding formal sales training and is also a person who works on her own professional and personal growth on an ongoing basis. One of her motto is "Readers are leaders," and she lives by that. I can attest to that. Her passion is never to stop learning so she can help others both in her business and personal relationships. She loves to connect with people, educate others, has been a leader in various ministries, and is a week away for being approved to volunteer at the Center for Women and Children at Union Gospel Mission in Coeur d'Alene, where she will help with women who are recovering from addiction. Her hobbies are reading, hiking, biking, exploring the outdoors, and spending time with our 3 children and 5 grandchildren, including her husband. I put that in. All right, and I just want to get Deborah up here.
You ready for me?
If you're ready.
Good morning, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about kind of in general success in business. I do get nervous when I'm talking in front of a group because I don't do it that often. And so forgive me if you see the nerves come out. And I'm going to tell a couple of personal stories. And so when that happens, I get what's called verklempt, if you know what that means. You get a little choked up. I don't have as much control over my emotions as I used to when I was younger. So I just bear with me. The point is, in telling a personal story, I'm kind of putting myself out there, making myself vulnerable. But the story that I'm going to tell has some really good points in it that has to do with our topic today, so I'm going to tell it. So I'm just going to try to push through. I read a book by Dr. Henry Cloud. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. Has anybody read the Boundaries book? Anybody in here? No. Okay. I didn't think so. He is an author and a psychologist, and just a really overall fantastic guy. And he's a Christian, so he mixes that in with his teaching, which is awesome. But he wrote a book called Integrity, The Courage to Meet the Demands of Reality. And it really had an impact on me because, you think of integrity as, okay, morals, right? Ethical principles, honesty. I've always thought of integrity as doing what's right when no one's watching. You can expand that to go, okay, integrity is doing what's right when no one's watching, when you have nothing to lose, or do you have something to lose? That's going to affect the decision that you make, right? So let's talk about what is reality. Reality is like a set of circumstances or a situation that you find yourself in. You, at that point, have a choice to ignore or confront that situation. And then there are consequences that go along with that. Like I said, do you have something to lose? Do you have something to gain? How does it affect you, your business, your family, those type of things? So we had a situation with our oldest daughter. She was 17 at the time. She had her driver's license, and she wanted to go to the beach with her friends. And she asked her dad, hey, can I borrow your truck to go to the beach? And she was a very responsible kid. She's the oldest, right? Oldest is usually more responsible, and she was. And so she asked to take her friends to the beach. So we said, yes, go ahead and do it. Then we got that call that no parent wants to get, that there was an accident. And thankfully, nobody was, badly injured, scrapes and bruises, things like that. But you get that call and your heart stops, right? What happened? What's going on? How is she? How's everything? Well, it turned out that there was a box in the middle of the freeway. Actually, they were in the fast lane. She swerved to miss the box and crashed into the center divider, right? And so that was the story we got. So thankfully, nobody was hurt. The police went out. They took a police report. Her and her friends gave their story. And we called the insurance, got that taken care of, and we thought, everything's good, right? This situation is over. It wasn't. About 3 days later, our daughter and her friend came to us and said, we have something to tell you. Okay, we sat down. She says, I wasn't driving Dad's car. My friend was driving it, not the friend that was with her. Another friend. I was tired. We had been at the beach all day, and he asked me if he could drive. He knew I was tired. I said no like 10 times, and he just kept on. And I gave in. He was driving. So that's, a shot to the heart. And we had not raised other teenagers, so this was like our first big, oh my gosh, she lied to us. What the heck? She's a good student, a good kid, good moral. So we were pretty much in shock. And what happened is at the scene, she had the forethought, not necessarily a good one, but she had the forethought, well, if my friend's driving, I don't know if my dad's insurance is going to cover his truck. So they switched places before the police got there. So that's kind of like another lie, right? Now she's lied to the police. And then we had a decision to make. Leo and I had a decision to make, the choice, right? Do we have something to lose? Yeah, we kind of had a lot to lose. We didn't know what the police were going to do if we made her go and tell the truth. We didn't know if the insurance was going to cover the truck. We had insurance on the truck, but we didn't know this kid, we find out later, doesn't have a driver's license, as he said he did. And so we had to make a choice of, are we going to undo this? If we don't, we let it ride, who's going to find out? Nobody's going to find out. The police weren't questioning it. The insurance wasn't questioning it. It just looked like kind of a cut and dry situation. So we talked, and I'm not telling the story to boast about the decision that we made, not at all. I wanted it to be an example of what we're talking about today. So we talked about it, and we decided we can't let this ride because it's not right. It's just simply not right. So we made our daughter go to the police station, tell them that she lied. Were they going to lock her up? Were they going to put something on her record? We really didn't know. We didn't think they would do anything that drastic. But honestly, we had something to lose because we didn't know what they were going to do to her. So that was scary. And then we didn't know if the insurance was going to cover the truck, if our daughter wasn't driving, someone that was a licensed driver that lived in our household. But we decided we got to do the right thing, and the fallout is what the fallout is. Hopefully it will work out. And so we had to call the insurance and let them know the situation, and probably by God's grace, it worked out. They covered the truck. They didn't arrest our daughter. And it worked out. And, but we were willing to take that chance. And so I just want to bring that story up to just kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. When it comes to integrity, who you are as a person determines how you handle these situations. And that's a personal situation, but you can put that in a business sense, right? Because you guys may have, and I want you to be thinking about this, because at the end I'm going to ask you if you have any personal situations that you want to share that may have happened to you where you had to make a choice like this on what you were going to do. But who you are as a person is going to determine how you handle that. So successful people have these three qualities. We're going to talk about competency in their given field. You may have a degree from a university. You may have done seminars for building your craft, your skill. You may have read a lot of books. There's lots of different ways, self-taught, things like that. You may have a God-given gift, and you're using that in your business. Our son has a God-given gift of mechanics. That kid can find a problem, solve a problem, and fix it, and that's what he does for his job. And it's just it just was natural in him. So I'm sure you all have your own natural abilities, right, that you use in your business. Number two, you're an alliance builder. Are you somebody who can form relationships that are mutually beneficial? Are you a connector of people? Do you put yourself out there? Nell's rule, be a go-giver and not a go-getter. You're going to get a lot more back when you have an attitude of giving versus getting. And I love that rule. I had never heard that before I met you, and I love it. And do you have the character not to mess it up? Your reputation is at stake, and I think this is where I'm going to tell another story. Yeah. In business, as business owners and entrepreneurs, our reputation matters, right? It goes before us, and it comes behind us. So some of you guys may have heard this story before. It's kind of a recent story. I have some VA buyer clients, and the husband is in the military. He was in the military. Now he's a sheriff's deputy. And they came to me and wanted to get a loan for a house. Their debt-to-income ratio was much higher than they would be able to qualify for a conventional loan. But with VA loans, there's no number that's a ceiling like there is with conventional loans. So they take a look at all these different factors. And one of the things that we do with loans is that we run they're government-backed loans, so we run them through a system, kind of just plug in, and then this government system says, yes, they're approved, or no, they're not approved. It's pretty cut and dry. And so I ran it through the system, got the thumbs up, they're approve eligible. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, whoa, their debt-to-income ratio is way too high. I'm not comfortable as their lender to kind of push them into this loan unless they're comfortable. It's not my decision to make, but it is my responsibility to make sure they know what they're getting themselves into. So I had a conversation with them, and I talked to them about their monthly payment. Because when it comes to mortgage loans, the rate matters to a degree, but what really matters is can they afford the monthly payment, and are they comfortable with it? And in this case, they have some circumstances where the wife's going to be getting a job. She's not working now, so she's going to be making more money, and some other things where they went, oh, yeah, like that payment is not a problem. We've paid off our car. We don't have that payment anymore. And so they were fine with it. But the point of that story is that we have our reputation, right? And I'm not going to damage my reputation by doing something that is going to hurt my clients and in turn hurt my business. So it's important that we think about our reputation as we're going through, business and what we're doing. So as I said before, who you are as a person will ultimately determine if your brain talents, competencies, energy, effort, deal-making abilities, and opportunities will succeed.
I have a quick story in your line of business.
Yeah.
I was stepping out of construction, trying to do something white collar, and I went into mortgages. And very difficult client, had a lot of money, and this was a huge loan that was going to take place.
Difficult client? What? What's that?
And this went on for 3 months. And at that time, living in the state of California, the law said that you have to disclose the rebate that you get. Customers didn't know about rebates. And so that's what you get paid, because if you can set them with a quarter point higher, and they're happy with it over cost, that rebate's given back to you. It's a bonus. So I knew this was gonna blow the deal if I had to disclose it. And so my broker said, put the disclosure statement at the bottom of the pile. Because the pile's like this.
Yeah.
They'll just sign anything by the time they get down to the end. And I said I could not do that.
Good for you.
And she says, I'll take care of it. She could. So at the end, I said, how did it go? He signed.
Yeah.
And then I said, so when do we get paid? You're not. I'm keeping the commission. It was about $4,000 to $5,000 commission.
Ooh. Wow. So you had something to lose,
That's
right? And you chose
that's a
to
painful integrity.
make the right. And it can be sometimes. It definitely can be painful. Thank you for sharing that, Nels. So let's talk about 6 essential qualities that determine your success in business. And this is totally interactive. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Number 1, establishing trust. I mean, that's kind of a given in business, right? You want your customers, you want your referral partners, you want your suppliers to be able to trust you. How do you establish that? Through connection with transparency and vulnerability, which I'm talking about being real. Connecting with people on a level that lets them know that you're willing to be real with them. And I know for me, when I meet somebody for the first time and they immediately start sharing maybe parts of their personal life that I didn't know or what have you, things that cause them to be vulnerable, I can see they're being transparent, I immediately feel a connection with them. I don't know if you guys are like that, but I immediately feel a connection with them. And so I've tried to do that, in being a business owner and connecting with people as well. I think it's really important that you are real with people. They can see through when you're not being real. People can see through that. The results of that are you're going to gain friends, customer loyalty, repeat business, and what do we all want? Referrals, right? People do business with people that they like and trust. I don't care how good your marketing presentation is or your sales presentation. At the end of that presentation, if they don't feel like they like you and can trust you, they're not going to do business with you, right? Number 2, oriented towards truth. So here's another little story that I got from the Henry Cloud book that I read about this dog food company. He was the CEO of a dog food company, and he was heavy on the marketing for his dog food company, for his dog food. And every quarter after quarter, his sales were flat, right? And he's trying to figure out what to do, so he fires his marketing department, hires a whole new marketing department. They do this big push, all this great new material about his dog food, right? And quarter after quarter, month after month, sales are still flat. So he gathers, all the executives into a meeting to try to hash out what is going on. Why are our sales flat? We've been spending all this money on marketing. What is going on? And they're talking about it. And finally, one guy stands up and he says, excuse me, the dogs don't like the food. He was like, excuse me, what did you say? Dogs don't like the food. And that guy had the integrity to stand up to the CEO of the company and say, dogs don't like the food. This is your problem. It's not, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing. If you don't have a good product, nobody's going to buy it. And then in turn, that CEO has to make a choice at that point. Is he going to receive that information? Is he going to be offended? He created the formula for the dog food. How is he going to handle that situation? And how that situation is handled in a business sense is going to make or break that company, right? So the outcome was the CEO did accept the criticism. They reformulated the dog food and went on to continue on in business. Are you a person that can accept that constructive criticism? Sometimes not so constructive. People will just tell you. But I think it's important that you can face the God's honest truth about yourself and your company. And it may even be a good idea. Self-reflection is always a good idea. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How can I make my company better? How can I make me better? Getting input from people that know you best. That's always painful, right? Asking somebody that knows you, what do you think about this? How did I do? And he's not the right one to ask for me, because it's always positive feedback. I'm like, come on, there's got to be something. No, it's perfect. No, it's not.
Well, then ask Sean. It's always you now.
So yeah, you might not want to ask your spouse. Ask somebody that really knows you. But it's a good time for self-reflection and just looking at what you can do better. Number 3, getting results. Be humble, not arrogant. I think that's probably a given for everybody in this room. We know that. But you can be confident and not arrogant. You can be sure in your abilities and not cocky. And when you do that, people will see that you are secure in who you are. You're secure in your product. You're secure in your abilities. You're secure in being able to take care of them. And I've seen a lot of that in here, by the way, and just the one-on-ones that I've had with people. You guys know your stuff. You know your product. You've honed your craft, and I love it. I love being around people that are good at what they do, and that's one of the things I love about coming to Heart of Business. And out of that, competent action will flow, and results will happen. Okay, so fire, ready, aim. Is that what we do, Chris? Yeah. Is that what we do, Chris? You don't want to be impulsive and get those things out of order, get the cart before the horse, right? If you're firing before you have taken the time to prepare, taken the time to figure out what your goals and your desired end result are, and then assess the risk of taking that particular action, whatever scenario you're in, now you can make that move with little or no fear. But if you're firing first and waiting to see what falls out later, which I'm sure we've all done it, and sometimes we learn best by the mistakes that we make. Hopefully you learn and move on and don't keep repeating the same mistakes, because if you do, you probably won't be in business for very long. Can you keep going when the obstacles arise? Can you get past losses and move on? Kind of like the dog food company, right? They weren't necessarily losing money, but their sales were flat. Are you the type of person when something big happens in your business, a big loss, or you lose a big customer, or what have you? In our toner business, we've lost big customers by no fault of our own. Sometimes, mostly, maybe they went with a big national company for a big national contract for nationwide locations or whatever. Can you get past that? Or do you sulk for a month and not go out and try to sell anymore? Can you step up and go, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Let's push through and let's move on. It's important to be able to be successful in business. Embracing the negative. I like stories, can you tell? Confront or ignore. My husband and I had a situation at Tito's Italian Grill in CDA. This is not a plug for them, but I will tell this story and how they handled the negative. Did they damage their reputation? They had a choice to make. They had a situation that they were confronted with, and they had a choice to make. So we went to dinner, actually right when we first moved here, almost 3 years ago. We walked in, didn't have a reservation. We walked in, they were able to seat us. They did seat us kind of in the back. And then 15 minutes goes by, nobody comes by. 20 minutes goes by, where's the server? Literally 25 minutes went by, and we're sitting there going, what the heck, there's all these new people coming in and they're getting served. It was literally like we were invisible. So we're like, something's wrong here. So he goes to the front, very polite like he is, and says, hey, did you guys forget about us? And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll be right there. So a couple minutes later, the manager comes over. The manager of the restaurant comes over. And it was probably a Friday or a Saturday night, so they were busy. She comes over, and she was mortified. She was like, I am so sorry. And then she went into an explanation about how we kind of like snuck in between server schedules or something, and we kind of didn't get on either one. And so they literally didn't know that we were there, even though they could see us. They didn't know. So she had to confront that situation. Well, she didn't have to. She could have just sent the server over, I'm sorry, and then move on. That's not what she did. She confronted the situation. She told us what happened. She was honest about it. She was very apologetic. And then she comped our entire meal, both of us. Like, what would most managers of restaurants do? Oh, here's a free dessert, right? Normally, that's what they would do. She comped our entire meal. Why did she do that? Well, I think she did it because they care about their reputation. They are a restaurant in the middle of downtown, right next to the resort. They're going to get business. They're going to keep getting business. They got the tourists, they got the locals. They're going to continue to get business. She didn't have to do that. But she cared about their reputation. And she probably thought, hey, they know people. They're going to go tell people whether this was a good experience or a bad experience. And because of the way she handled it, we totally forgot about that we waited 25 minutes. We got a free dinner. It was awesome, right? So that was just another kind of fun little story of something that happened to us, that this manager had an opportunity to show the integrity that she had as a manager and that they have as a company. And in making those decisions, is there something in it for that person? Sure, there's something in it for them. I'm not saying that we don't make decisions based on what's in it for us, where we do. We're people. But she still didn't have to go to the extent that she went to, right? That's the way I look at it. High achievers are willing to confront reality and not hide from it. And so me. If somebody asked me what one of my biggest weaknesses is, I would say confrontation. I hate confrontation. When I have a situation, especially with a friend, if I have to confront a personal issue with a friend, and I have had this, I will get nervous, I will get sweaty, my blood pressure will go up, my heart will beat. It's just awful. I would almost rather avoid it at all costs. However, I've been on this earth for, I won't say how long, a long time. I won't give my age away. I have learned that I can face the issue with professionalism and care, vulnerability, transparency, right? For a more beneficial outcome for all. And what I've learned in the many books that I've read and just dealing with people, confrontation doesn't have to be scary if you have the intent of solving the problem. Now, if you're a hothead and you have the intent of just coming at that person full bore and you're going to yell and scream and you're pissed and, you just got to get your anger out at this person, what is that going to do? Is that going to repair the relationship? Is that going to help your situation, whether it be a business partner or a customer? Well, obviously you're not going to do that with a customer, hopefully. A supplier. I used to be a purchasing manager many years ago, and I had a boss that wanted me to be a hard ass. He wanted me to just go in there and yell at my suppliers and demand this and demand that, and that's not my way. That's just not my nature. I could get what I needed to get with my suppliers, but I did it my way, and I was still able to get the same end result. So I'm not saying there's not a time for being assertive, because there is, but as far as confrontation goes, think about what is your end goal? What's your end game? What are you trying to achieve? If you're going in trying to solve a problem that you have, you're just gonna approach it a lot better, right? So you're seeking to solve the problem and not fight or argue about it, even though it feels good sometimes to just hash it out.
Yeah, but if there's 4 or 5 similar companies, and you're the only one out of the 5 that's hard to deal with, why would you go to?
Right? Yeah, right, exactly. Your reputation, right?
Yeah.
You have a reputation for being a hothead, you may not get that person's
I'd rather not
business.
deal with that person, so I'll go to the next 4.
I'm the only one that doesn't like confrontation.
Yeah.
Are you a person that's oriented towards increase? Do you have the desire to grow mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically? Those are good qualities to have when you are an independent contractor, a business owner. Just always honing your skills, honing yourself personally, as a person. We've had many business coaches come in and speak, right? Motivational speakers, things like that. Align yourself with people that are going to push you to grow. Those are the people you want around. Life coach, personal trainer, counselor, home group, Bible study, whatever it is. There's lots of ways. We even had Dave, the kettlebell guy, right? He can help you get in shape. I would imagine probably all of you guys can attest to when you are operating at your best peak performance, it's going to show. You're going to attract people to you because you're a positive person. Exercise. What is it? The dopamine and whatever else you get from exercise? Endorphins. Thank you. Yeah. Those types of things are going to affect your performance for the day. One thing I've learned about being in sales for as long as I have is that you can't go out there and sell if you are depressed, if you're having a down day is okay, a down month not so good if you're in sales. People want to do business with people that are up and positive and energetic and know their craft, know what they're good at, have that confidence, and all of those things, right? And so
You are the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with most.
oh, that's a good one.
It's true. And
It is true.
And if they're not the best ones, change them.
So what Nell said, if you guys didn't hear that, is you're the sum total of the 5 people you hang around. And it's interesting because as parents, we teach our kids, watch out who you hang out with because they're going to influence the things that you do and the choices that you make as a kid, as a teenager, and so on. As adults, we don't think about that so much. We don't think about who we're hanging out with, how they could influence our lives in a good or bad way. But yeah, we have the option to change that, right? I love that. Invest in yourself for the greater good, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of your customers, for the benefit of your friends, for the benefit of your family. Invest in yourself because you're worth it. Okay, I feel like I just did a L'Oreal commercial. Oriented towards transcendence. Transcendence is working for something larger than yourself, right? So I don't know if I'm the only one in this room old enough to remember what happened with Tylenol in 1982. It was a big one. Yeah, so what happened is in 1982, somebody decided to lace bottles of Tylenol with cyanide in the Chicago area. 7 people died. And so Tylenol Company, which is Johnson & Johnson, had the situation where they had to deal with confronting the situation. They really couldn't ignore it. They were too big. They had to confront the situation. They had a reality situation that they had to deal with. And what they chose to do, like, literally changed the course of the company, I think, and changed the course of history. Because what they did is the CEO at the time decided to pull every bottle of Tylenol off the shelf in North America. Every single bottle off the shelf. Not only did he do that, he created an 800 number for people to call in if they had questions. And they basically advertised, don't take Tylenol right now. So people that had their bottles at home, don't take it. Because their thought was, one more death is too many. And so
the story, I think it's in Deborah's book, The Difference. It's a sales book, but I think the story behind that, it's really impressive what they decided to do as a corporation. The decision was made to do that based solely on their company motto and creed. Our responsibility is to our patients and the doctors and nurses that we serve. And the company decided that to stick with that motto, the best thing to do was pull all the products against the advice of all the attorneys. All the attorneys were telling them, deal with the insurance companies, deal with the fallout, go ahead and pay the families off, yada, yada, yada. Nope, they totally disbanded, and in 6 months completely disbanded Tylenol for the most part, rebuilt it back up, sent teams across the country to hospitals, all right, re-educated everybody. It was a massive undertaking and a massive expense on their side, but when you turn around and look what the end result was, through their corporate governance and structure and saying this is the way we're going to handle it, it's a really impressive, probably one of the best stories of corporate responsibility that I've seen in the last 50 years.
Yeah, it was really remarkable. And the CEO, because of a decision that they made as a company, was named like in the top 10 CEOs in history in the country. And they were able to build the company back up, and we all take Tylenol today, right? Hurricane Katrina is another example of, okay, maybe not all. Hurricane Katrina is another scenario where the victims that were, immediately displaced from their homes, some of the big drugstores came in and offered them free medication. And they didn't have to do that. Was there something in it for them? Yes, they were showing everybody, look at us, we have this great reputation, we're giving back. But like I said, giving back doesn't necessarily mean there's not something in it for you. But it's when you're doing it when you don't have to. And you're doing it because you want to help people, you want to improve their lives, you're doing it for the greater good, right? Doing something beyond yourself, right? The greatest people are those who have not sought greatness, but served greatly the causes, values, and mission that were much bigger than them. And I stole that quote from the book, but I just thought it was really poignant in kind of ending the talk about success in business, integrity, reputation, and just kind of all the qualities that we need to have as business owners to better serve our customers and just have better personal relationships. So now we could just go into a Q&A if anybody has any other questions.
My dad was a tough guy, but he taught me good work ethics. And he said, when you think you're done with a job, stand back and take a look at it. And if you can't put your name on it, go back and do it right.
Oh, I love that.
And that can be very enslaving at times, but I live by that. Yeah.
So I'll piggyback on that. I have one. My dad, actually, today's his 80th birthday, and he was into Harleys when I was growing up. And I don't know if you guys know much about Harleys, but there is a lot of chrome on them. And he would enslave us. I grew up with 3 older sisters and a younger brother, and so he would pick 2 of us, like kind of every other month or week or however often. And we would have to wash it, and then we would have to polish it. And I kid you not, We would spend hours on that thing because we knew how picky he was. He would literally come in to inspect, right? Look at it, look around, do it all over again. It's not right. And as a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Yeah, right? But what does that teach? It teaches do it right the first time. And my husband is meticulous. He used to paint cars and he used to detail cars. He is meticulous. When he cleans the kitchen, I clean the kitchen, but when he cleans the kitchen, like, man, this place is amazing. Everything shines, you know. So yeah, doing things right the first time.
So is there something about marrying your father in that?
Any other?
There is. My daughter said the same thing about her husband, that, you know, the way he is, kind of like matches me, so.
So next week is philosophy.
Next week's Father-Daughter Week.
I would love to hear your guys' stories of situations, reality that you've had.
The concept that comes up for me in medicine is informed consent, as well as like knowing your scope. So what I mean by that is, you know, if someone's not informed about the risks and benefits of a medical procedure, they can't make a decision from, you know, their own perception of what's best for them. And I do feel like we're in a time period where medicine has slipped pretty far away from that. Yeah. Like, a lot of times they'll make you sign forms and you don't even get to read the forms. They're rarely going to talk about risks, even with major surgeries. A lot of people are not informed of the risks.
What about all those commercials that say, take this great drug,
Yeah.
here's all these.
Yeah, and
That's not informed consent?
no. So I think, I mean, and it goes along with scope too, because for me, so what I often feel like I end up doing is going through with people, like what medications they're on, what, you know, they've been through medically, and going like, okay, well, did you know that some of the risks of what that, you know, aspect of your medical care is possibly causing some of these other issues? They're like, oh, I didn't know that. But it's like, you know, I can help you, but there's only so far I can go if you're continually taking something that's causing a problem to proceed.
Right.
But the other part of that is knowing my scope. So I can't change their medication. I can just tell them they should go back to the person who prescribed it and ask certain questions and just be informed about the risks. And if the benefits outweigh the risks, maybe they stay with it. But,
Right.
you know, just helping people to advocate for themselves is, I've learned is actually a big part of my profession. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in a generation where, okay, we didn't have the internet, right? There were books, but who's going to open a medical book and figure this stuff out, right? So my mom and, you know, even my generation, we listened to our doctors. Doctor said it, it's the gospel. Doctor said I need to take 15 medications, that's the gospel, I'm going to take 15 medications. The times have changed. There is so much more information out there now. And I love that there's people out there like you that look to the root of the problem as opposed to just masking the symptoms with medication. I am grateful for that because I'm not a person that takes said drug we talked about earlier.
Well, in those days, doctors were gods, and they thought of themselves that way, pretty much.
Yeah.
And thank God for the internet now. I use it a lot.
Right.
With what I do.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, I think we're good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.